All right, this is just the first draft of me attempting to record a test run. Let's see how this goes. Unfortunately, because of the way this test runs, you're not going to be able to see everything, but that's okay. So what this is a end-to-end testing workflow where we are going to take a document that will be turned into a skill, and that skill will have a training event created for it. It's also going to be linked to a training role. We're going to take it through the approval process, and then we're going to have the required attendees log in and complete their training log. So the reason why you see two different browsers on the screen is I have implemented an actors class so that each user that logs in gets their own browser context, which kind of prevents some browser leakage. So right there, we had a user log in, and I believe complete the first approval on the document. I haven't been closely paying attention, but one of the reasons why we have to wait on this login screen is that bottom toast message takes 10 seconds to disappear. And if we don't wait for it to disappear, it'll interfere with the other toast messages that pop up at the bottom of the screen, which is kind of like a feature of the product. So right now we have our first user logging in and completing their training log, and next he will approve it. And now it is complete. And then this user will log out, and we'll have another user log in. Currently, I'm losing, at least on this test, over 80 seconds of runtime waiting for that login message to go away, but I just don't have a choice. I have to wait for it to go away. Otherwise, I said it'll interfere with those other ones that are on the bottom. And I'm using those messages at the bottom to control the pacing of the test, because sometimes Playwright goes too fast and certain things won't run during the screen. So waiting for these messages to resolve gives me a really good and logical way to control the pacing without putting in implicit waits. Okay, I think we have one more approval to do, but essentially what it's doing is it's going to expand the training management, and it will look through the first 5 entries to find the particular one that it needs to find. Technically speaking, it should always be the one at the top, but I made it the first 5 just to make it a little sturdier. And this is the last approval, and after this user approves, he will also open the training event and verify that the state moves to closed. And that is the test. So the next thing we could do is we can just look at the report, which I'll drag over. So this is the report that Playwright generates on its own. And as you can see, we have some tags up here. One of them is Chromium, because it's the browser that we're running this in. And the other tag here is e2e, which is simply representing that this is an end-to-end test. So if we click into this, you can see here are all of our steps. So let me just kind of show how the test is written. So this is the test, kind of beefy. It's about 150 lines long, including some imports. But up here, we're defining what the test is, and this is the end-to-end workflow for documents and training. We have to define some stuff, specifically the users that we're going to be using, aka the actors. So our 2 main actors are going to be the demo user and then MGR doc. So they are defined here at the highest level. And we're also creating, or we are not creating, but we're instantiating the page objects for the pages that they need to work with. So documents, the skill training role, the training questions, training events, etc. And then because I want a unique title every time this test runs, I'm simply using this text string and using the faker library and using an alphanumeric value to make sure that every time the document gets added, it is unique. And then the test is basically broken down into test steps. And if you take a look at the report, you can see like this is a test step, and then this is a test step, etc. So we're just kind of going through here and kind of breaking the workflow down into logical chunks so that this report, let me bring it back up again. This report is a little bit easier to read, specifically for business stakeholders who may not be super technical. So they can look at this and say, okay, so we're creating a document. Okay, we are creating the training event and then making a training role. Then we're adding a skill training question. Then we're approving the document. Then we're submitting it for approval, sorry. And we're logging in as each user that needs to approve. And then each user is logging in to complete their training log and approve it. And then if you wanted to, you could expand this and you can actually see exactly what's happening. You can see there's way more steps here than you would think, but there's a lot of behind the scenes asserting going on that you won't see in the test, because that's kind of how this framework is built. All of the test assertions are abstracted out of the actual test file itself and built into the framework. The one thing I'm still trying to figure out a good solution for is this right here. So what's happening here is that this is a race. And for those of you who are familiar with this app, whenever you hit the save button, one of two things can happen. Either the state dialog appears and you can select the state, or the record will just save. Because there's no realistic way to know that before hitting the save button. And number two, I didn't want the test writer to have to know what exactly would happen when they click save. I had to make this race. So essentially what it does is it waits for either the state dialog to appear, and if it does, it performs the selecting the state from the state dialog, or it'll wait for the snack to appear, and the snack is just the messages that show up at the bottom. And so when it appears, it's simply waiting for this simple regex string. It's simple right now because I haven't figured out a really good way to do the regex, but is always in the snack bar, but only one of these can pass. So because one of them fails in the test, it marks an X. It's not a real failure. It's just what it's doing. But yeah, you see that these are all the steps that it's performing to simply do logging in as Carl and completing his training event log. That will do it for what I wanted to show. Thank you for watching.